Enjoy this sports update from Skybox Sports News.
How should Cowboys fix this?
By the way, Kellen Moore, I'm sorry, and I'm a fan, but he's just been a flat-out disaster. First play of the night the other night, it's just like the ball just gets taken away from him. I really liked him at Boise State. I have never liked him as the backup quarterback for my Dallas Cowboys. Now, on to how to fix this. I would love to see my Cowboys sign, dare I say, Colin Kaepernick.
Wow.
In fact, the more I think about it, the more I thought about it just before this show started, the more I think this situation, this predicament screams for Colin Kaepernick. This would be the best fit for Colin Kaepernick in the entire National Football League for several reasons. An even better fit than he would have been in Seattle, where I think he would have been some threat, management thought, to a Russell Wilson, whose defense and other side of the ball has never been quite completely sold on Russell Wilson. So that's why I think they finally said no. And in this case, the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, they've already got some read option plays in their arsenal.
Correct.
They do it. They run them some in the game. So skill sets are pretty similar. I like Colin throwing out of the pocket. He's not been the most accurate passer. I don't think he's quite as accurate as Dak has shown so far.
No, he's not.
But he's got a big arm, and he can run this offense. I think he could step right into it tomorrow and get it pretty quickly, pick it up pretty quickly. And they have backs very experienced in read option plays. Alfred Morris, that first year in Washington, he had 1,600-plus yards. He was just 18 yards short of what Zeke had leading the league last year with RG3 running the spread option, right?
Yep.
And we know what Zeke did at Ohio State with Cardale Jones, what he did to Alabama. There was some read option going on there, right?
J.T. Barrett.
And J.T. Barrett. So I like that fit, and I also like the culture fit. I've always said this about the Cowboy culture. It absorbs big personalities and big issues better than any culture in the National Football League because, number one, the owner is the superstar of this team, right? And nobody's going to have the star power, the eclipse power that Jerry Jones. He eclipses everything, right?
Yep.
And then, as you know, you got Dak over here in one corner of the locker room, and then there's Zeke, and then there's Jason Witten, and now there's Jalen Smith on defense. And it's like you go into a multiplex of theaters, and you can just pick a theater every day because there's going to be a bigger story here, or maybe here.
Correct.
So Colin wouldn't be quite the focal point to start with, which I think could be a good thing for all involved, if he were a Dallas Cowboy. Even Greg Hardy, as much as I said no to Greg Hardy, at least he sort of got fitted in, you know, like he got assimilated pretty quickly into the culture. Now, for the obvious negatives that should not be negatives. What did Jerry Jones say during the Hall of Fame weekend? You were there. At halftime of the, Thursday night Hall of Fame game, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Jerry Jones in the booth at halftime, and they kept him over because he was so good and such a big personality, the star of the weekend. They kept him into the third quarter. What did he say? His biggest disappointment, he said this on national TV, as the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, is that he did not get Tony Romo to a Super Bowl. So to me, if there were what you call catastrophic injury, I got to knock on wood, to Dak Prescott, if there were serious injury suffered early in the season, you know and I know who Jerry thinks the quote-unquote backup quarterback is.
You going to call Tony from the booth?
He's going to call Tony. Call him down from the booth. Now, would Tony accept? That's a whole nother question.
Absolutely he'd accept. You know it too, Skip.
I don't know.
Skip.
It would depend how soon it was and how much he'd gotten his feet underneath him with Jim Nantz in the CBS #1 booth. That's a job that's hard to walk away from.
Let me ask you a question. If you're a professional athlete, would you rather have the #1 booth job or quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys?
It would depend what your self-vision was at that point in your career. Would you accept the fact that I can't stay healthy, that every time I've walked on the field I've gotten hurt again?
Yeah.
Would you accept the fact that you've fallen out of shape?
What do you mean falling out of shape? Like he's ever fallen in shape?
Okay. All right. But to your point, we saw him try to be Maverick for a night, right? Basketball player.
Ooh.
Didn't look too good. Looked like a dad wearing one of those Maverick jerseys, right?
Yeah. Great
Okay.
dad.
All right. So Jerry's contingency plan to me, Jerry seems fully content with Kellen Moore as his backup quarterback because he knows that plan B is really Tony Romo. That's what I think.
Yep.
Which brings us to Scott Linehan. he has this sort of unnatural obsession with Kellen Moore. And I get it because they both grew up in small town state of Washington. And Scott Linehan is sort of blind to the faults of Kellen Moore, because Scott Linehan was, as our man Mark Schler says, they were teammates at Idaho, where he was the quarterback at Idaho, and where's Boise State? It's in Idaho, so Kellen Moore, the quarterback at Boise State, where he was really good. So Scott Linehan, coordinator in Detroit, when they signed Kellen Moore as an undrafted free agent, so they've come up together all the way, and then they went to Dallas, quote unquote, together. So he's going to fight to the death for Kellen Moore. It's just not right, because he's blind to what's happening before his very eyes. And that brings me to the backup quarterback, the third-string quarterback, Cooper Rush, who's been just sensational in the preseason. Jerry stopped down in that interview I talked about on NBC to say, oh, boy, the game really slows down for this kid when he's on the field. He's not Colin Kaepernick. Kellen Moore is not Colin Kaepernick. I'm not sure Tony Romo right now could be Colin Kaepernick. I don't think he could be.
No.
So the point is, why wouldn't this just scream for you to do it? Well, maybe the owner would say no for various reasons, which you can delve into if you so choose. But I'm saying a big yes, and I'm hoping everybody could see their way clear to make this happen sooner than later.
Of course, Colin Kaepernick would be an upgrade over Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is a 5'11", maybe 185, maybe soaking wet with a 5-pound weight in his pocket, 190 pounds. He not only...
They list him at 2-something, but go ahead.
Not even close.
I know.
And he doesn't have a big arm, and he's injury prone.
Yep.
And the team that should know best about not having an adequate backup should be who, Skip? The Cowboys. Remember what happened in 2010?
Do I?
Remember what happened in 2015? It almost happened again in 2016, but Dak Prescott came in and not only shown that he was a capable backup, he showed that he was the quarterback of the future, and the Cowboys could move on without Tony Romo.
Yep.
The last time we saw something like this happen, you know what year it was, Skip? 2001. There was a guy that came off the bench as a 6th-round draft pick in 2000. Starting quarterback got hurt, had a $100 million contract, Drew Bledsoe. Tom Brady comes in. Not only did he prove he was an adequate backup, well, you know, we can say bye-bye to you, Drew. And that's what they did.
Wait, did you just say Dak Prescott is Tom Brady?
Skip.
Wow.
See, you see
Yeah,
how
that's a nice thought.
You see how you leap to a conclusion.
It's got some potential, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
All I'm trying to do is just show the similarities.
It is.
That this doesn't happen very often.
Nope, it
There's
doesn't.
a 15, 16-year time gap between the last time we saw that and what we're seeing now. Skip, let's just say for the sake of argument, this 6-game suspension for Zeke stands pat. Knock on wood. I hope nothing happens to Dak. But if Dak misses a game or two, Skip, do you actually believe that Kellen Moore, even with that great offensive line, and those running backs that ran for like a zillion yards on Saturday against the Colts?
We're going to talk about that with Eric Dickerson. Thank you for bringing that up also. Keep going.
Do you actually think Kellen Moore can keep this thing in the road?
I do not.
Skip, you saw what happened in 2015.
Yep.
He had a golden opportunity to show Jerry Jones, to show Scott Linehan, Jason Garrett, guys, if something would have happened to Tony Romo down the road, I got you.
That's correct.
What did he show him? Nothing, and he got hurt. And what makes
By the way, Kirk Cousins is now 1-4 against my Cowboys, and the 1 was against Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
You seem surprised by that, Skip.
I'm not surprised.
And Skip, what makes it even worse is not only they knew what they had, they re-signed him in the offseason after he broke his leg last year for $775,000. So they're seeing something that you and I can't see.
Scott Linehan loves him. He's a coach's kid. His father was his high school coach. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And you're just connected. You just think he can figure it out.
Did Scott Linehan start at Idaho? Because I remember John Deep Freeze. I played in a bowl game with John Freeze. Now, he was the starting quarterback. He was the second round to San Diego Chargers.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe Scott was, I don't know. Maybe there's this connection between backups and backups. We got to stick together.
Yep.
Skip.
Maybe.
But you and I both know. First of all, Colin Kaepernick is better than maybe with the exception of Jimmy Garoppolo. I believe Colin Kaepernick is better than every other backup quarterback in the National Football League. I believe he's better than, let's just say, everybody on the Jets, the Bears, So there are a lot of teams. Hell, even my Broncos. Are you telling me
I
that
can make a
Paxton Lynch and
case.
Trevor Siemian are
I
better
can
than
make
you?
a case. I agree with you.
But here,
And I already told you what I think of Baltimore. He's better than
Oh,
anybody on the roster, and he might, to me, he's better and proven to be better than the starting quarterback, Joe Flacco. That's just me.
well, we
I can
know
show
he's
you.
1,000% better than Ryan Mallett.
Yep.
But Skip, it's hard for me to believe that Jerry will sign Cap. Jerry was the most outspoken owner when this anthem protest started last year. He says, "This is my stage, my building. You do it my way. Everybody will stand at attention."
There were several who were very outspoken, but you can make a case.
He
You
was
can,
he was
you know.
probably the most outspoken one
Yep.
at attention.
Yep.
See, Skip, and everybody's like, Jerry loves to win. Jerry does love to win, but Jerry loves to win his way. Because if Jerry didn't love to win his way, he would have never fired Jimmy Johnson after 2 straight Super Bowls. Because, you know, that night in that bar when he said there's 500 coaches that could have won a Super Bowl with his team, Jimmy said there's 499 because I'm got to get up out of here.
And then Jerry hired number 501. Jerry switched it. But anyway, go ahead.
Exactly. And so that's the problem that I think they're up against, Skip, is that Kaepernick and Jerry, I think Jerry philosophically is not where Cap is not really what he wants. But is Cap better than Kellen Moore? Is Cap better than the guy they just took in the draft this year? Absolutely. But I don't see Jerry making this decision.
Cooper Rush was just undrafted.
Skip, and I don't trust anybody with 2 last names first. Cooper and Rush. That's the last. Yeah, your last name got to be Cooper.
You know, I kind of like the name.
No, I don't like it.
I kind of like it.
If I was his mom, I'd have
like-
named it Pass Rush.
Huh?
I'd have named it Pass Rush or
Cooper
Color
Rush
Rush.
has got star quality to it, though.
Stop it, Skip.
I'm not saying he's going to be a star, but he's been really good. But at Central Michigan, his record was 26-24, and I don't know. He's been playing with third teamers against third teamers and lighting it up.
Yeah.
Now what?
But Skip, what have they seen in practice? What have they seen on tape? What have they seen once they've gotten into games that makes them think if they really needed to? Dak was away for, let's just say he went on a sabbatical for 2 weeks. I'm not going to even speak the injury bug into existence. Let's just say he went on a mission for 2 to 3 weeks. Do you actually believe that Kellen Moore can keep this team afloat when he couldn't do it in 2015? He couldn't. What are they waiting for,
Hey,
Skip?
seriously, Colin Kaepernick could throw it harder underhand than Kellen can overhand.
Yeah.
That's how soft his arm is now. I'm like, what are you doing? What's happening? It looks like he's hurt all the time, like he's got an injured arm.
He couldn't throw a brick through a plate glass window. I mean, Skip. I mean, it seems like he is taking all he has to throw an out route. I mean, everything looked like it. Nothing just like jumps out of his hand. Everything is just like he's rearing back like he's throwing the javelin. Maybe they know something we don't. And Skip, the thing is, when your starter goes down, unless you have a defense that can take the ball away. Now, this is not what the Cowboys defense is. They're not a take the ball away type of defense. Give your offense a short field. They're a team that bends, that doesn't break. Normally, they know the team is going to be behind because they're going to grind it out. They're going to get the ball in the end zone, and they're going to force you to do what, Skip? Throw the football. So now they play that soft cover 2, come up, make the tackle. But Kellen Moore, your drop-off is so substantial. If Dak were to go down, and if you're going to be minus Zeke, it's over. It's over. I don't know what they're waiting on, but you better, and I get it, Skip, because when you get those guys, it's the only position that you try to load up at every other position to make sure. You look at the Patriots, Skip. They got Edelman, Amendola, they trade for Cooks. They got Malcolm Mitchell. They got Chris Hogan. They signed this little free agent guy from some little 84. They just load up every position. Look at cornerback. Look at linebacker, D-line. But it's the one position. We can get by. The guy ain't going to get hurt. Well, ask Bill Polian what happens when Peyton Manning goes down. What happened to you? Ask Jerry Jones when your starting quarterback goes down in 2015, what happened to your season?
Please like and subscribe to Sky Box Sports News.